First, we are greeted by an interesting phrase. The face of possessions. A sacred object or a divine treasure is almost a fiction, and every martial arts adept wants to possess it. Then we are thrown onto the battlefield. The main character, Seo Hyun, is opposed by 3 enemies. They demand from him the divine face of possessions and are confident that he will have it. Just as if he gives it away, they promise to leave at least a corpse from him. The face of possessions is a bundle that the wounded protagonist has in his hands. The exhausted hero stands in a bloodstained suit and shouts to the enemies that they are immortal emperors, and in an attempt to get the face of the possessions, they united to drive into a corner just one junior. Are they not afraid of the condemnation of heaven and the people of this world? Attacking the hero, they shouted that no one would know about his death. Apparently, he chose a painful death. Well, they will gladly fulfill his wish. The main character, looking at them with his amber eyes, in which fear was not red, but only complete confidence, said that he would rather die with honor than beg for mercy. At the same moment, 3 swords were thrust into his body, 2 of them in the chest, 1 in the solar plexus. The bundle face of possessions flew out of his hands. The hero fell to the ground, bleeding and already saying goodbye to life, while the enemies mocked, saying that he loudly declared himself, but in fact turned out to be a dummy. The young man looked up and thought only of one thing, that his death. After all, it was inevitable. His eyes were slowly closing, and suddenly the face of possessions howled high into the sky. Sean and conditional signs similar to yin-yang appeared. The hero's consciousness began to transfer him to another place. Bright lightning pierced the heavens and hit the straw house. The young man's hand trembled. He opened his eyes and jumped up abruptly. But I didn't understand where to be. He was surrounded by an old house in which there was a stove, firewood. It was surrounded by shabby walls. The hero's head was painfully pierced by memories of the Seo clan, the young head, poisoning, and dawn. These thoughts accumulated in his head, from which he screamed. It seemed to him that his head was going to explode from the pain. The owner of this body was called Seo Hyun, and he, apparently, was also very unlucky. Someone killed him and his body was occupied by someone else's soul. There's no way he's going back right now. Seo Hyun's body lying on the straw began to glow brightly. The richness of his energy allowed him to achieve an average glow with just a brief cultivation. The door creaked and 2 people entered the house. One of them was really looking forward to finally seeing this damn corpse of Song Hyun. The second one warned him that Song Hyun drank water with blood powder, which kills anyone in 3 breaths. It's been 2 whole hours. He's definitely dead. Seo Hyun, hearing that someone was entering, instantly jumped to the roof and hid his presence. He immediately realized that they were the ones who killed this guy. Noticing that the place where Seo Hyun was lying was empty, they panicked, and the first thing they decided to do was inform the elders. Seo Hyun was filled with hatred, and he decided that since he was alive and occupied this body, he would take revenge on the murderers and return everything to normal. The strength of his energy he directed at these 2 men, from which they screamed and for a moment said goodbye to life, failing even to run out of the house. The next episode takes us to the council hall of the Seo clan. All its participants appear before us. A blonde-haired young man named Han Poon demanded that on such a significant day, they need to tie the knot between his brother and the daughter of the head of the Seo Oni clan. Next to him was his brother, whose name is Han-do, the elderly head of this Seo clan. So Moon-ho carries thoughts in his head that their clan has become very weak over the past years and that he can't even object to this impudent person in any way. As you can see, he is not happy about this marriage at all. The girl was against everything that was happening. She did not want this marriage, and even under the threat of death, she would not marry Han-do. She was sitting in a wheelchair. She had problems with her legs, which greatly added to the hopelessness of the situation. The advisor of the Seo clan, Seo Sang-gu, entered into the dialogue. He called her names and ordered her to watch her tongue because she had no choice. Walking towards her, Han-do told her that she should on the contrary demonstrate her best qualities in order to seem nice, and she dares to say that he is not worthy of her. When he reached her, he grabbed her hand tightly. The girl began to struggle and scream for him to let her go, and Khan looked at her with a mad and irritated look and did not even think to let her go. Suddenly, the head of the clan suddenly appeared from behind and uncoupled their hands. Han Poon was outraged when he saw this. What do you mean by that? He reminded Strashina that if the fate of the clan is important to him, then he must obey their will, and that if he continues to resist, he will not look at the fact that he is the head of the clan. To which the head of Moon-ho calmly replied that his clan is very dear to him, but he is not going to calmly look at what the young master touches even before the decision on marriage. And then the advisor intervened again and noticed that there was no point in holding on to pride if the clan had no power. Young Mr. Khan declared his readiness to take the wayward Yun as a concubine, and in their position it was even grace. Then the advisor turned to Yin and shouted that the decisions were made by adults and it was better not to resist her. Suddenly the doors opened from which someone's dark figure appeared. In the silence of the night, a bright lightning struck that shone on Seo Hyun's body. Everyone from the clan immediately cast their reasoned glance at him. Only the girl Yin realized with delight and joy that this was her beloved, missing brother. She was insanely glad to see him, as if her salvation had come. Only the head of the clan sat in great surprise, because he knew that Seo Hyun does not own any martial arts. The advisor, seeing Seo Hyun, calmed down. He was sure that he would not wake up until the morning. How? After all, he was supposed to die. So why is he still alive? Seo Hyun pointed at the advisor with his finger and ordered him to shut up, casting an angry look at him. The advisor staggered back in incomprehension and fear. Song Hyun was of the opinion that a servant is not given the right to open his mouth in the council hall. Han-du recognized him immediately, because 3 years ago, he had heard about Trash without a drop of energy, who became the young head of the Seo clan. But now he sees that at least his tongue is hanging well. Red-haired with mockery and slight mockery, he called Seo Hyun garbage and ordered him to get lost, because he had not finished his dialogue with his sister yet. Seo Hyun began to approach him with a slow step. With each step, Han-du began to get more and more nervous. When Seo Hyun came close, he unexpectedly hit him so that he flew to the side and fell to the floor. Seo Hyun looked at him haughtily. Does it hurt to receive from garbage? Seeing this, Han-poon went berserk. How dare he touch his brother? Seo Hyun noticed that he might get the same, so even if he doesn't fit. Song Hyun's eyes were shining and there was a smile on his face. Impudent bastard. Han-poon began his attack. A thought flashed through Seo Hyun's mind, so he decided to look at what these freaks are capable of. The chapter begins with Han-poon's fist attack on the main character, but before he could strike, his attack was stopped. It turned out to be the head of the clan. He noticed that all the power had gone out of his hand. The elder reminded him that he himself had tried to attack a child who was not yet strong, which forced him to intervene. The head held his hand behind his back. Energy began to accumulate in this hand, and he pointed it at him. Seo Hyun was impressed that the head used a secret technique, thanks to which he intervened. The red-haired son of the Han clan was hunched over. He was filled with resentment and anger. He took out a knife and jumped on Seo Hyun to stab him. But it wasn't there. Seo Hyun enveloped himself in blue energy. It was directed directly to the enemy's neck. She was such a force that the enemy fell to the floor unconscious with a crash. The white-haired brother looked at Seo Hyun with horror. He didn't understand what nonsense. He didn't feel any energy flow. He just knocked Han down with one punch. Hyun's explosive power didn't consist only of energy. He used a technique that was unknown even to the head of the clan. The head, looking at the white-haired man from under his brows, warned that Han-du had just fainted. He would wake up soon. And as for the wedding, the elder would personally visit the head of their clan, and they would discuss everything with him. And now he asked them to leave immediately. Han-poon realized that he definitely could not cope with the head of the clan, so he decided to obey and leave before the situation worsened even more. But before he left, he decided to offer Seo Hyun such an option that they would really fight with him at the ceremony of inheriting the title of head of the clan. And if he won, she would become his brother Han-du's concubine, and the clan would obey them. This didn't scare Song Hyun at all. Blue flames were still emanating from his hand. He agreed to his proposal, noted that if he won, he would take his life. After these words, he smiled and a twinkle shone in his eyes. Han-poon did not understand where Seo Hyun got so much confidence from, but he clearly decided that he would show the futility of any of his efforts. He hoisted his brother onto his shoulder and left the council hall of the Seo clan. Everyone immediately looked at Song Hyun with anger and contempt. There was a frightened cry from the advisor that how Seo Hyun dared to attack the Han brothers with his fists, that he, having forgotten his place, and why on earth did he think himself worthy of Han-poon? Seo Hyun should immediately run to them and beg their forgiveness on his knees. The head of Seo Moon-ho raised his hand to silence the advisor. Seo Hyun paid absolutely no attention to the words of the advisor. He only took his sister and they began to return to her room. Smiling in the direction of her brother, she nodded happily. The night sky was slightly cloudy, lit by a bright moon. From the window of the house, a hidden warm light could be seen. I was delighted. Her brother, he was so cool today. If it wasn't for his appearance, these two arrogant guys would definitely not have lagged behind her. Seo Hyun brought her to the room and sat down next to her on a chair. He looked at her with a warm look and a warm smile lit up his face. He realized that this girl, after the death of Seo Hyun's grandfather, he is her only blood relative. He decided for himself that from today on Unnie will be under his strongest protection. Seeing the look he was looking at her, the girl was very embarrassed. Seo Hyun noticed that her sore legs were causing her a lot of inconvenience. He promised her that no matter what, he would certainly come up with something to cure them. He is her older brother, he will certainly put her on her feet and give her back her abilities. Hearing this, the girl burst into tears with happiness. But Seo Hyun just stroked her head and smiled warmly. He got up, took her wheelchair and drove her to his house, with the glory that it was late and it was time to go to bed. He drove her to her bedroom and quietly closed the door. Flashbacks about his death surfaced in his head again and he realized that he was already dead in that world. All three emperors who killed him are not easy people. If they become aware that he is still alive, they may well follow here through the spatial gap. He squeezed his eyes shut and decided to first look at the memories of this body and understand where he was in the first place. His body was enveloped in blue flames again. His hair and clothes began to develop. Various symbols and signs appeared around Seo Hyun burning with golden color. The Yeonsu continent where everyone can cultivate the energy of the earth and heaven to improve combat skills. Yeonsu continent. Yeonsu continent. In his native main continent, the levels of perfection were divided into the following: beginning, glow, flame, possession, cancellation, overcoming, ejection, alter ego, greatness, and ascension. Here, on the continent of Yeonsu, they are guidance, pre-warrior, warrior, army, follower, king, success, edge, peace. Moreover, each of them is divided into stages: elementary, intermediate, advanced, and excellent. He opened his eyes, they sparkled with a bright blue flame. Memories of the battle with Handu surfaced in his mind, and he realized that he had defeated him only because his skills were at the level of war. Anyway, the main thing for him now is to cultivate energy and improve his own skills to the maximum. He decided not to delay with this decision. He sat down on the floor and enveloped himself in blue energy. Cultivation was not easy for him. He started coughing, closing his eyes, and suddenly he screamed. His body was filled with great strength. Initial flame, medium flame, advanced flame. Seo Hyun was incredibly impressed with his abilities. At one time, he rose to advanced flame. By the standards of this world, this is an advanced warrior. Suddenly, the door to his room suddenly opened and a dark figure appeared. It was the head of the Seo clan, Seo Moon-ho. He was frighteningly hostile and came to find out who this person was. The head was sure that this was some kind of foreigner. We are met by the head of the clan, who is not at all afraid. Hostile to him, the face of Seo Hyun. He understood that according to his body's memories, he was an elder Seo Moon-ho. And, unlike the other elders, he has an unusual past. The next episode takes us back 20 years. A young Seo Moon-ho appears before us. He is exiled by the former head of the Seo clan, Seo Hyun's grandfather. He expels him because he does not put the traditions of the clan into anything. Seo Moon-ho lived idly and riotously until he finally angered the former head of the Seo clan, for which he was punished. Left without a clan, he traveled the world and improved his abilities day by day. He fought with various evil spirits, lived in the north and ate the one he killed. In fact, Seo Moon-ho lived with a burning desire to return home. But in order not to shame the clan, he went further and further in his training. Seo Sang-gu is the elder of Seo. A few years later, the head of the Seo died after losing control of the energy during the improvement. The previous head said that his grandson Seo Hyun should take this place next. However, the boy was too young at that time, as a result of which a power struggle broke out, and chaos reigned in the Seo clan. Kaewasong, who returned home a couple of years later with Moon-ho, thanks to his abilities, settled the situation, took the post of head himself and stood up for the clan. And now, from the memories, we are transported back to the dialogue between Seo Hyun and the head of Seo Moon-ho. When Seo Hyun the former owner of this body suddenly declared himself at the age of 16, the head of course drew attention to this anomaly. The foreman was amazed at the abilities and skills of this boy, which he demonstrated in the council hall. It amazes his imagination. The head was waiting for a convincing explanation, starting with how Seo Hyun went over his limit today, and ending with the reason for the dramatic improvement in his abilities. Seo Hyun began to calmly explain everything to him that the head knows perfectly well that he was talented since childhood. But Seo Hyun had a lot of envious people who added something to his food, and in order to protect him, his grandfather ordered him to hide his talent for his own good. He pretended to be sick and spent all these 3 years secretly perfecting his abilities in the mountains. This explanation sufficiently convinced the head of the truth of his words. Seo Hyun has already started shouting that Seo Sang-gu tried to poison him with blood powder because he wanted to take the post of head. It's not difficult to understand the range of his motives. What? Seo Sang-gu poisoned Seo Hyun. The elder did not believe what he heard. But what surprised the head most was that Seo Hyun hid his abilities for 3 whole years, waiting for the right moment. The former head planned it that way. Seo Hyun is the only hope for the rebirth of the clan. The head felt ashamed, because Seo Hyun suffered a lot because of his negligence. Bowing his head in front of him, the elder began to ask Seo Hyun for forgiveness. But Seo Hyun didn't hold a grudge against him. He had long ago decided to leave all sorrows in the past. He touched his hand as a sign of forgiveness. But Seo Hyun promised that he would not leave everything this way, and the Han clan would teach Seo Hyun a lesson at the title inheritance ceremony, and Seo Sang-gu would get his own. The head was scared. He understood that the young head is now at the level of war, but Han Poon is a strong man with abilities that grow daily. The head warned Seo Hyun not to underestimate Han Poon. But he doesn't have to worry about Sang-gu, the head will deal with him himself. So Han completely trusted the words of the head. The excitement immediately left him. But Seo Hyun was worried about another issue, about clan medicine. But the elder calmed him down and said that tomorrow his servant would bring everything he needed. But in order to get clan medicine, the head of the Seo clan climbed into his cloak and took out a brown token with a red symbol on it from there. With this token, Seo Hyun will have access to all clan medicine. If Seo Hyun needs anything else, he can contact the elder at any time. With these words, Streshina got up and began to go to his room, because the day had long come to an end. Seo Hyun thanked him and put the token away. The elder came out of Seo Hyun's house and saw a man in a black raincoat and a hood covering his eyes watching them on the roof. This stranger smiled and admitted that he was unbearably interested. The elder realized that he was referring to the energy of the young head. The stranger added that the source of Seo Hyun's power is somewhat different from what everyone is used to. He was interested in this because this was the first time he had encountered it. The head was struck by this fact, and he admitted that it was really interesting. But henceforth he forbade the stranger to appear in front of him, and that he did not even think of pestering the young head. With these words, the elder turned around and went to his room. The stranger, in the wake, told the elder that he would not disobey him. But there was an insidious smile on his face, and his eyes were hidden under a spear, and his palm holding a fist made us understand that he would not leave it like that. The next episode throws us into the morning. The main character just got up and pulled himself up yawning loudly. Seo Hyun realized that because he had increased his level so rapidly, now mere cultivation would not be enough. Now, in order not to slow down, he will have to resort to food pills. In order for Seo Hyun to survive in a world ruled by strong cultivators, he needs to return to his peak of possibilities as soon as possible. His thoughts were interrupted by a servant. By order of the head, he brought the medical supplies that he had asked for to his son. He handed the young head a box with them. Seo Hyun opened it and was amazed, because on the main continent, any of these ingredients would have to be searched for several days. He liked the fact that here he only had to ask for them. But Seo Hyun had to recycle them. He didn't have the tools, so he decided to do it with his energy. He held up 2 fingers and a blue flame appeared. It grabbed the ingredients and began to process them. Seo Hyun noticed that on his main continent, his ingredients, which he extracted himself, allowed him to process only the simplest pellets, except for the first class. But the ingredients here are so amazing that he will get the level of the 3rd class right away. His clothes and hair developed thanks to the power that came from Seo Hyun. In his hand, a golden ball appeared from the ingredients, which he immediately ate. He realized, given this before the ceremony, he would be able to achieve much more than what he had hoped for. After swallowing this ball, he felt a huge force in his hands. Suddenly, an indignant voice was heard outside the door. She asked the advisor why he had come here and ordered him to leave. She threatened him with words that if he continued to climb to her brother, she would not let them, that she would give her life for him. The head servant opened his fan, which ignited a fire. The counselor reminded her that her brother is already dead, and the one who appeared yesterday is an imposter. But I wasn't even going to listen to his nonsense. And again she began to insist that he get out. These words infuriated the advisor. His eyes turned black, and he realized that words could not reach her. She angered him so much that he decided to kill her, directing her to her dead brother, and attacked her. The girl screamed in fright and had already begun to say goodbye to life, when suddenly a blue lightning threw the advisor aside. The doors opened and Seo Hyun appeared, with blue flames coming from him. He was furious, because who does he think he is? How dare he go to his sister with such intentions? The servants ran up and everyone was shocked, because it was just a ghost fire. Where does the insignificant brat Seo Hyun have the ability of the level of the army? The advisor lying on the floor began to shout that it was impossible. No, this is all nonsense. Suddenly someone touched his head. It was a chapter. He angrily turned to the advisor that he had warned him not to climb, and that he was on the verge and the head was not going to joke with him. The girl did not remain silent. She immediately told the head that the advisor had tried to kill her and her brother. The old man was surprised that yesterday Seo Hyun amazed everyone with his abilities, and today he also decided to demonstrate the ghost fire. The advisor was visibly frightened. Stuttering, he began to prove the opposite, that he did not even think of harming her, but just came to check on her. But it only flashed through the head of the head that if he were not an advisor to the Seo clan, he would have ended his life with his own hands. The head of the clan abruptly removed his hand from his head and warned everyone that from now on, without his permission, no one should interfere with the training of the young head. All the servants and the advisor began to bow and agree. Seo Hyun approached her with a question about how she was, whether she was scared much. Abruptly grabbed his arm. A girl sitting in a wheelchair with tears in her eyes began to clarify whether it was her brother for sure. She was so surprised by his strength that she began to doubt whether it was really her brother. Seo Hyun realized that she noticed something strange. The most important thing for Seo Hyun is to remain calm. Smiling uncertainly and scratching the back of his head, Seo Hyun began to convince his sister that it was definitely him and was significantly surprised that she even began to doubt him. The sister immediately became embarrassed and tried to justify herself, but Seo Hyun interrupted her and said that it was time for them to go to the pharmacy because he promised to cure her legs. Seo Hyun took the stroller and drove his sister to the direction of the pharmacy, while the red-haired Handu was watching them around the corner of the house. His whole face was still wounded, his teeth were knocked out, and his head was tied with a bandage. Meanwhile, Seo Hyun and Unni reached the pharmacy. The young head of the clan said that he needed to buy one special ingredient. The seller absolute no without any interest and enthusiasm told him to choose for himself everything he needed. Seo Hyun didn't like it, and taking out of his pocket the token that the head of Seo Moon Ho gave him yesterday, he said that it was better if the owner himself found what Seo Hyun would tell him. The owner jumped up from his seat when he saw the token. After all, this token meant that the young head of the Seo clan was talking to him. The pharmacy owner instantly changed his manners. He immediately became polite, smiling and friendly, and he began to ask customers what they were interested in his pharmacy. Seo Hyun handed him a piece of paper on which was depicted a mushroom with a yellow cap and a gray leg. It was wrapped with some kind of yellow thread. Seo Hyun said he needed a forever rising mushroom. The seller took the piece of paper and confessed to Seo Hyun that the century-old rising mushroom is very rare, and that it is almost impossible to find it, even in their kawasan, and even more so in the pharmacy. The owner himself saw him only in books that he read as a child. The hero thought about it. How so? The mushroom, which is widespread on the main continent, turned out to be very rare here. After seeing Seo Hyun withdraw into himself, she decided to resolve the situation, saying that it was okay and that she was ready to sit in a wheelchair for the rest of her life, as long as her brother was there. Seo Hyun and Unni realized that they had nothing left to do in the pharmacy, and therefore left. But they were unexpectedly met by Handu and his servants. The red-haired Handu began to laugh at Seo Hyun. Allegedly, he went to the pharmacy to buy herbs, cook pills from them and thereby improve his abilities. When Song Hyun saw him, he wasn't scared at all. On the contrary, he became overwhelmed with anger. Realizing that Song Hyun was not afraid of the drop, Han became enraged and shouted that his servants would immediately attack him and beat him half to death. Song Hyun understood that even yesterday he would have had a hard time against such a crowd. But now he easily dodged all their attacks and knocked them down on the spot. Through this crowd, he got close to Handu. The only thing the red-haired man managed to do was regret that he had poked his nose at Song Hyun. The young head once again knocked down Handu with one blow, using his technique. A lot of people began to gather around. Everyone was wondering what kind of commotion was going on there. Many recognized the red-haired son of the Khan clan. Han Poon was passing by with his guards. Seeing a large crowd of people, he became interested. He came closer and saw his brother lying on the ground. Handu was in a terrible state. He had been beaten before and his wounds had not had time to heal, as new ones were inflicted on him again. Han Poon ran up to him and gently put his head on his lap. He started yelling at Seo Hyun, trying to find out what he did to Handu. He shouted at the servants, trying to understand how this could happen and how they allowed it. The servants were terribly frightened. They began to justify themselves by saying that everything happened in the blink of an eye, and that they didn't even have time to react. Only Song Hyun was good. He explained to Han Poon that Handu was trying to provoke him again and that he was just teaching him a lesson, and tried to calm Han Poon by saying that Handu did not die, but just got off with light blows. But these words angered the white-haired Han Poon even more. He couldn't leave it like that. Moreover, the head was not there and nothing stopped him. He jumped up and was ready to strike, as someone abruptly told him to stop. The young lord of the Calm clan and the elderly elder of the Hwe Gal clan appear before us. The lord of the Calm clan does not tolerate such recklessness in his presence. Han Poon furiously started explaining that Seo Hyun had maimed his younger brother and he just couldn't stand by just watching it. The elders of the Hwe Gal clan noticed that the boy had unusual abilities and immediately informed the young lord of the Calm clan in his ear. The young master decided to side with Seo Hyun and ordered Han Poon not to say anything more, and he decided to introduce himself. His name was Kam Moo Jin, and he asked what the name of this strong and brave boy was. Seo Hyun introduced himself, but then the sister intervened. She asked her brother to leave because she was scared and that she did not want to be here anymore. Seo Hyun smiled warmly again and put his hand on her head and agreed. Kam Moo Jin, or the young lord of the Calm clan, noticed that there was a serious disagreement between Seo Hyun, Han Poon and Han Du, and offered Seo Hyun his help in this. But Song Hyun only said after that, of course, he appreciates his gesture very much, but he can't accept his offer, and that now it's time for him to go, so they will return to this dialogue some other time. To which Ko Moon Jin only smiled slyly. The next episode throws us to the elder's house. In front of us is a leaf with the image of the century-old Rise-He mushroom. It is held in the hands of the head of the clan. He explains to Seo Hyun and Unnie that the century-old mushroom grows in an extremely dangerous place. And asks Seo Hyun if he really wants to go there. Without any doubt in his eyes, Seo Hyun firmly replied that he would do it for his sister's sake. But the head really did not want Seo Hyun to go there, so he decided to put pressure on the other side, telling him that he was not allowed to put the life of the heir at such risk. But Seo Hyun was not going to give up so quickly, in which case he suggested that the head of the clan go with him, because then the risk would be much less. The elder only exhaled, but immediately remembered his promise that he would help Seo Hyun in case of need, and his principle was that he did not intend to take the words back, and told Seo Hyun that the head was completely at his disposal. Seo Hyun was insanely surprised and even a little confused by how much the head of the clan caught fire with this. The girl remembered the young lord of the Calm clan and decided to ask the head if he knew him. Hearing about him, the elder turned sharply to Unnie. He was madly frightened because he realized that the Calm clan had already arrived here. The head ran up to the son and began shouting that it was necessary to remember once and for all that under no circumstances should they be angered. Seo Hyun already staggered back from the unexpected outburst of emotions from the head. The young head became curious about what kind of clan it was that even the elder was so scared. The head thought about how best to convey everything to son Hyun and began his story. The Calm clan is one of the 3 best in the Green Cloud Empire. Against their background, the clan looks like a newborn baby. The Yangsu continent includes 4 empires: Storm, Green Cloud, Frosty Sky, and Spiritual Beast. The largest and, accordingly, the strongest among them is the Storm Empire, but also the Frosty Sky and the Green Cloud try to keep up. The empire of the Spiritual Beast on Alina is a werewolf, and it also plays an important role on the continent of Yonsu, and by the standards of abilities deserves to stand on a par with the other 3. The Calm clan is one of the 3 leading associations in the Green Cloud, and their influence covers the entire empire. Even their imperial family has to reckon with them. It began to dawn on the elder that Seo Hyun had enlisted the support of this Calm clan, and if so, then the abilities of this clan would grow significantly. The elder, scratching his beard, warned Seo Hyun that Han Poon's strength is at the level of the average army, but his needs will still grow, and he is already close to advanced or even superior strength. The head decided that it would be possible to deal with the issue of the century-old Rise-He mushroom later. Now, after all, the most important thing is to prepare for the head's inheritance ceremony. Seo Hyun didn't say anything to that, just thanked the elder for his enlightenment and decided to return to his training. The head crossed his fingers and wished Seo Hyun a good workout. The young head took a wheelchair with his sister and left the elder's house. But someone was already waiting for him on the street behind the pillar. A plump teenager with a short haircut approached Seo Hyun. It was his brother Seo Man Seok. Seeing that it was true, Seo Man Seok threw himself into his arms with tears. Man Seok missed his brother very much, and after hearing all this frightening news about him, he immediately came to them. Seo Hyun was very happy with him. Only the girl watched with displeasure as they hugged. Wiping tears from his eyes, So Man-seok told him that their father was very much reproaching himself for not being able to help Seo Hyun for so many years. But now everything has changed. From now on Seo Hyun will have full support and you don't have to worry. Seo Hyun put his hand on his brother's shoulder and thanked him for his kindness. Seo Man-seok's younger cousin did not possess any cultivation qualities, so he helped the Seo clan in other moments from childhood. Heaven gave him an excellent talent for commercial business, thanks to which he earned a decent amount of money, and with them the nickname Tallstomus of the Seo clan. Seo Man-seok turned his head away from embarrassment, informing Seo Hyun that he was going to meet Biki, and invited him along. Seo Hyuk tried to remember who Biki was. Seo Hyun has almost no memories of Song Biki. If you strain the convolutions, it turns out only that she is the daughter of her father's sister, that is, Seo Hyun's cousin, who left for the capital. But the young head did not understand why she would visit Kawonsan. But nevertheless, Seo Hyun agreed it would obviously not hurt him to just look at her. Then we move to the pier. All vessels on it belong to the channel. The channel is a shipping transport group. Seo Man-seok told Seo Hyun that he had signed a contract with the stream to deliver all the heavenly orchids from Surabaya to the pharmacy of the Seo clan. As a result, having monopolized the production of small pills in the city, the clan became accustomed to making money on it. A small pill is a means of divine medicine. Seo Hyun never stopped being surprised by his brother. The lack of martial talents he has is fully compensated by his business skills. Seo Man-seok suddenly stopped. The fascinating beauty of the marina opens in front of us. Blue sea, mountains in the background and boats resting on the water. It's also insanely beautiful. Man-seok excitedly shouted that Biki's ship was on the way. Taking Seo Hyun's hand, they ran towards the ship. Moonho said that her father was accepted into the Kon clan, but its members themselves are silent about it, as if they had filled their mouths with water. Man-so hurried Seo Hyun and promised him that she would definitely be surprised by his presence. A large ship sails to the pier. An insanely beautiful girl appears before us. She has very beautiful blue eyes and blonde hair, like the light of the night stars. She has a purple kimono, which emphasizes her good figure, and a red sword hangs on her belt. She leaves the ship with her servant. Noticing her, Seo Hyun saw that she hadn't changed at all. She was still as beautiful as she was in childhood. Brother Man-seok explained to Seo Hyun that in 8 years Biki had reached the level of the army in strength, and that this time she sailed here with a letter of recommendation to join Hyungcheon. Seo Hyun was very surprised by this, because the great Han Poon reached the level of Ratty only at the age of 20, but Biki was able to at 15. She's obviously very cool. Biki noticed some commotion in the crowd. It was Seo Man-seok. He picked up a flag and started waving it to attract her attention and called her. Without giving it much importance, she followed on. But Man-seok ran towards her, pushing people aside, waving his hand and shouting that he was her cousin. Running up to her, he said that they had not seen each other for a long time and reached out to her hand to shake it. But Biki pulled her away and said with contempt that she was glad to meet her. Man-seok laughed awkwardly, complimented her that she had only become more beautiful over all these years, and said that brother Hyun had come with him, that he was now the young head of the Seo clan. The girl froze. Did Seo Hyun become the head? She shifted her gaze to the side where the young head was standing, to which Seo Hyun only greeted him questioningly. Suddenly, a shout was heard to get all the onlookers out of the way. It was Han Poon and his servants. He approached Biki and told her that his father had organized a banquet in honor of her arrival, and extended his hand to her. But suddenly he saw Seo Hyun standing behind her, and he mockingly told Biki that if he had known that she would languish in the company of these worms, he would have come to meet her earlier, and I apologized for it. She said that he should not apologize, but that on the contrary, she was sorry that she had caused trouble to her brother. Biki knew that due to the fact that Han Poon accepted her father into the clan, she and the Seo clan managed to maintain a relationship. Han